Thank you very much. Once again, I just would like to thank everyone at the NDPID for this opportunity. Sorry, let me start sharing my screen. So, first of all, I must apologize. I'm doing this training from the car. Um, I'm more or less multitasking. The daughter is flying the nest today, so I'm at Kiel University, dropping her off and then doing this. So I must apologize. But that notwithstanding, I mean, the good thing is technology has made things so easy for us. I was telling Anna that, well, as long as I've got good internet connection, I can do this from anywhere. So today, this is actually my third lecture, my third training, so to speak, in the last 3 months or thereabouts. And, it's been quite exciting. I'm so grateful once again for the opportunity. And I thank everyone who has joined us today. So today, I want us to not just look at COVID-19. I want us to talk about maintaining good health and nutrition. Obviously, I'll be looking at this, I'll be touching on this with regards to, of course, the current pandemic. We've talked about what COVID is, what COVID is not. We've talked about, vaccines and, the issues surrounding vaccines. But today, I want us to look at, aspects of our own health and our own lifestyles, which, first of all, will not only help us in the current pandemic, but I gave a lecture elsewhere outside the UK about COVID-19, and I did say something. I did say to the audience that this is not the last pandemic. It's not going to be the last pandemic. Obviously, we're going to see, pandemics like COVID. We may not have pandemics. It may just be, something within the UK. It may be, an epidemic, somewhere else. But we need to be prepared. The state of our health is very, very important in how, our body responds, in how resilient our body is going to be to any infection. It may not even be COVID or anything. It may just be the normal flu every year. It may be other viral infections. It may be other bacterial infections. We're going to see in the training today that whether you come across a virus or you come across bacteria or fungi, the body responds the same way depending on the status of the body itself. So basically, when COVID started, there has been, this controversy about people who are symptomatic and people who are asymptomatic. So people have been asking, why did we, and do we still have a situation where some people will become infected with COVID-19, with the virus causing COVID-19, they will become symptomatic and some will be asymptomatic. And even with the people who are symptomatic or were symptomatic, why did some people have, mild symptoms? Why did others have moderate symptoms? And why did others have very severe symptoms, sometimes fatalities? Why? The basic answer to that question is this: it's the status and the response of our own immunity. So, first of all, let me explain this. When we come in contact with bacteria or viruses or fungi, whatever the offending thing may be, the body must fight. The body has been equipped to fight these invasions by these microorganisms. And the system that is responsible for this fight, for this response, is called the immune system. And what's the immune system? Immune system is just made up of cells in our own body. These cells that are present within our own body, they have one responsibility. The responsibility is to detect and to fight, any infection. So if we're talking about COVID-19, for instance, I know people who have become infected within the same household. Two people became infected. One was asymptomatic and the other had moderate symptoms. As a matter of fact, the individual that was asymptomatic did not even know that they had been infected. It was when the other person that was symptomatic had to go for a test, and they went like, "Oh, who else have you come in contact with?" Oh, he said, I actually came in contact with my mom. The mom didn't know that she had been infected with COVID. But, so they all went for a test. Lo and behold, the mom was carrying the COVID virus. She was positive. So it's the immune status, it's how the immune system responds, and it's the status of the immune system. So is the immune system in such a state that it is able to respond? And if it is able to respond, how does it respond, to the presence of this virus? So the point I want us to understand this afternoon is this. I always say to people, when you come in contact with the virus, what happens, the consequences will depend on what the virus meets in your body. I like to say that in layman's language. I like to say what the virus meets in your body, as in the state of your body, the state of your health, the state of your immune system. And the truth is, my dear brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, it's the immune status that makes the difference. And you may have heard about different groups being told, oh, you've got to shield. Oh, you are vulnerable. Oh, you are this, you are that. The major reason is the immune status of those group people. So let's make progress. Sorry. I don't know why this is not responding. Okay. I am going to take some time to explain what goes on here. So how our body's own immune system responds to viral infections, including COVID. So I want us to see it as two phases, the first phase and the second phase. This first phase is so critical to the outcome of, the infection. So we have two types of immune responses in our body. We have the innate one, the one we were born with. We were all born with this innate immune response. Okay. And then we have one that is actually acquired over time. We call it the adaptive immune response. So when we come in contact with a virus, like the virus causing COVID, the first thing that happens is the first response involves the innate immune response. And this response is, it involves general response to any infection at all, be it bacteria, viruses, anything. So that's the first phase. It's the first thing that happens. And what happens in this stage is this. The immune cells of the body produce chemicals, or if you like, we call them, in science, we call them cytokines and interferons. These are very, very critical. And the production of these interferons, or these so-called chemicals, these cytokines, is very critical to the outcome of the infection. Because what do these interferons do? They simply, mess with the virus and, make sure that the virus does not multiply. And of course, if viruses cannot multiply, they cannot overwhelm the body. And usually, once these cells are able to produce these interferons and these cytokines, what they do is to also trigger the phase 2. But usually, because they interfere with the ability of the virus to multiply, the infection can be stopped at that stage. And for most asymptomatic people, that's what happens. So, or for some people who are mildly symptomatic, they will go like, oh, looks like I have a slight fever. Oh, it looks like my body aches. They may just have some people may not even know that they are infected. Some people may actually have low-grade fever. They don't even know. They just carry on with life. And with most people, the body has taken care of the virus. The body, the immune system, through the production of these chemicals, would actually, stop the infection at that stage. In some people, the adaptive phase or the adaptive immune response may be triggered. And that is a long-lasting kind of immune response. As a matter of fact, that is the immune response that vaccines are meant to, copy. That's the kind of immune response vaccines actually induce, the long-term, we call it adaptive immune response. And this involves other types of cells. These cells are like soldiers. These cells, they are like sentries. They are the cells that go like, in future, if this individual comes in contact with this virus, we're going to deal with that virus. We're going to make sure that the virus does not take hold in such a person. And, sometimes, this late adaptive immune response is observed in people with weaker, innate immune response. So it means that the innate immune response is not able to take care of the virus, then the adaptive immune response takes over. So why am I explaining all this? I'm explaining all this so that we can all understand that all this thing about, some people are protected, some people are not showing symptoms, some people this and that, some people had severe, COVID, or some people died from COVID. It's all down to the immune response of the body. Now you will go like, Mayo, why are you talking about the immune response? Why? What has that got to do with healthy living? What has that got to do with our nutrition? What has that got to do with our diet? Just give me a minute, we'll get there. So having said that, I want us to look at this slide, what I'm just showing you right now. And I'm going to start by saying this. The immune status actually determines our health status. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, when you say someone is healthy, it's down to their immune status. When you say someone is unhealthy, it's down to their immune status. Our health is determined by the status of our immune system. The reason is this, and I can't be tired of repeating that, it's the immune system of the body that determines what happens to our body, whether one organ functions well, whether it does not function well, whether it responds to infections or it does not respond to infections. However, the point I want to make here is this. Many times I've talked about this before, in different scenarios, not COVID scenario. And when I begin to let people see, the things about our lifestyles that can actually affect our immune system, they don't believe it. Alcohol consumption would affect our immune status. The presence of another illness would affect our immune status. Physical fitness, we are coming to see that. It's the last thing I'm going to be talking about today. Physical fitness would affect the immune status. Diet, smoking. Oh, I repeated physical fitness twice. Maybe it's because of how important it is. Some medications are actually not good for the immune system. I'll give you an example. There are people who are receiving drugs, chemotherapy, for instance. They've got cancer, and they are receiving drugs that are used to manage these cancers. These drugs, some of them suppress the immune system. Some people who are asthmatic, they use drugs which are steroid drugs. These drugs suppress the immune system. So there are medications that can actually affect the immune status. Stress. This is something I teach to my students every year. One of the triggers of immunosuppression, as we call it, that is suppression of the immune system, is stress. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, when we are stressed, the body produces certain chemicals called stress hormones. When we are stressed, the body is stressed. We are stressed physically, we are stressed mentally. the body will respond to that state by producing cortisol. The stress hormone is called cortisol. And when the body produces cortisol, cortisol suppresses the immune system. It suppresses the immune response. Also, things like infections, history of infections, body fatness, these are things that affect the immune response. Some of these I'm coming to explain in detail later. And of course, the stage of the life course. Now, when COVID started, sadly, most of the people who succumbed to this disease, unfortunately, were old people. The reason is, and I'm coming to explain further, as we grow older, the body's ability to produce these immune cells that respond to infections begin to wane. The body's ability to do that begins to wane. So the body is not able to produce immune cells sufficiently as we age. And that's why one of the strategies with COVID is older people. You hear about, the government, the healthcare practitioners, being concerned about older people. We were mostly all aware about how COVID went into care homes and almost wiped out the residents. It's because of age. As we age, the body's ability to fight infections begin to go down. So let's look at some of these factors in detail, especially the ones that we need to pay attention to. Okay, so age first. Stage of life course is very important. I think I already started to explain this. As we age, as we advance in age, our immune competence, begins to fall. So it's just like several other functions of the body. Kidney function, liver function, brain function. It's the same as we age. The ability of the body to produce new cells begin to drop. And it is the same with immune cells. And so with age, with an increase, as the age increases, the immune competence also begins to drop. And, in the past, when I had to explain this to people, I did say that I gave a lecture to some representatives of a local government. And I did say that, look, let's be honest with ourselves. COVID-19 was the third coronavirus outbreak in the last 20 years or thereabouts. That tells us one thing. It means that there is going to be another outbreak. It may not become a pandemic, we don't know. However, please, in future pandemics or epidemics, whatever it is, outbreaks, think about old people as quickly as possible. It's a vulnerable, older people, especially once you hit 60, older people, 60, 65, 70, you need to have a strategy in place, a pandemic preparedness strategy for old people, because whether we like it or not, at that stage of life, they are more susceptible. So yes, age is a factor, is a very, very important factor. And we have seen, like I said earlier, that age played a major role in COVID-19. Okay, what else? I also want to talk about obesity. This is really sad as well. Now, there is something that body fat does to immune cells, to immune competent cells. With an increase in the presence of these fat cells, this was a research, I contributed to a research in this area about 10 years ago. Now, when you have fat cells, when the size or number or population of fat cells, when they increase, that results in a drop in immune competent cells. Now, I'm not saying immune cells, I'm saying immune competent cells, the cells that can fight, the cells that can respond to the presence of an infection, they begin to drop with obesity. And that's why people living with obesity have increased susceptibility, not just to viral infections, but also to bacterial and fungal infections. Now, when COVID started, there is a group that people were very concerned about, and this group was also heavily hit, mostly people with diabetes. The reason is this, and I can't go into details this afternoon. The reason is this: obesity and type 2 diabetes, especially, they are comorbidities. They exist together. The reason is this. Let me scratch the surface a little. With obesity, we have a phenomenon known as insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is something, is a phenomenon that is partly or mostly caused by obesity. And it's simply because fat cells cover, the surface of other cells that take up glucose in our body. I would have loved to go into details, but I can't. And that's why, when COVID started, people were worried about diabetic patients, people with, other metabolic diseases, and usually related to obesity. And we're going to see something about, physical fitness later when I come to talk about exercise. And when I was preparing this lecture, I was telling my wife earlier today, I did say that when I was preparing this lecture, I was actually also talking to myself because of physical fitness, the fitness of the body and so on and so forth. All this, we think that this is body weight is, body weight is only about, hypertension, high cholesterol, stroke, and all that. No. Obesity and, the physical state of the body, whether physical fit or not fit, they also play a major, these factors play a major role in infections. Okay, let's make progress. I'm getting excited now. Let's talk about nutrition. Nutrition is something that everyone gets excited about. And we're going to see that nutrition is also linked to obesity. Nutrition is linked to, physical fitness of the body. How does nutrition affect or determine, our response, the body's response to infections like COVID? I want to say this first of all. The key word is optimal. That's the key word. The key word we need here is optimal nutrition. Optimal nutrition, optimal dietary intake, all this will affect the immune system. Of course, this is the area of my research. This is what I do actually. This is my, how would I put it now? This is my home. This is what I do. How nutrition and herbal products and natural products, how they impact the immune system. This is the focus of my research. And ladies and gentlemen, several, dietary factors, several, things that we eat, they affect our immune system one way or the other. I'm going to talk about some of this this afternoon, but the key word is optimal. That is not too much, not too little. So that's what we mean by optimal. So why is it important? Why is it important to have optimal, or to have a situation where nutrition and dietary intake must be optimal? I'm going to show you now. So by optimal, we mean good nutrient supply. The body receives just what is enough. And when we have good nutrient supply, that results in good nutrient status, or what we mean by, or what we call stores, what the body will store what it needs. You see, sometimes when people overdo things, the body simply goes like, I don't need that extra. I've got what I need. I'll use what I want to use and I'll store the rest. Beyond the capacity to store, the body simply goes like waste. Sometimes with some nutrients, if we overdo them, the body is not only trying to get rid of them, they actually do a lot of damage to the body. I'll give you a good example. You know, there is this talk about sugar, sugar, sugar. Let's reduce the sugar. That is true, but the body still needs sugar, or the body still needs glucose. Without glucose, the body cannot derive energy to function. The body needs glucose, optimal. So you see that word now, optimal. Beyond that excess, the body gets rid of the excess. But on the contrary, that excess could actually do a lot of damage, can do a lot of damage to the body. So that's why we use the word optimal. And when we have good nutrient status and optimal, storage of nutrients, that results in good immune function. Okay, it results in good immune function, and that also results in defense against pathogens. By pathogens, we mean infections. That's just science being funny. So yes, good defense against pathogens, that simply means good defense against infections. So when we have poor nutrient supply, on the other hand, the status is poor immune function, poor defense against infections. And in this situation, what you'll discover is that individuals in this situation of poor nutrient supply, they are easily infected, so they have more infections. And even when they become infected, the infections are more severe. There is greater illness. Sometimes there will be death. Where I spoke with a colleague in working on COVID epidemiology 2 weeks ago, and they are still crunching the data. They are still crunching the data on the number of people who were obese or they had some metabolic problem, who died. Number one, who suffered severe COVID. Number two, who died from COVID. So we've got to think about all this. When we think about nutrition, we shouldn't just think about whether we are, we shouldn't think about whether we are overweight or we're not overweight. We shouldn't think about just our heart. We shouldn't think about blood vessels. We should also think about the fact that our nutrient status will affect our immune status. Okay, let's make progress. Sometimes this thing works, sometimes it doesn't. So I've got to do it manually. I've heard people say, I want to eat this to boost my immune system. I've heard people say, oh, I'm going to eat this fruit. Oh, there's this product on the market. Oh, there's this thing someone introduced me to. It boosts the immune system. Every time I read that, or every time people say that in my presence, I go like, you don't have a clue. You really don't understand how the immune system works. Especially when COVID started, I saw a lot of things on the internet. And this go like, this is an immune booster. And when people use the term immune booster, I go like, do you know what it means when you're trying to boost the immune system? You are actually wanting to cause the immune system to go into an override. And that's another problem. I'm coming to that later. But so what do we actually want to do as far as the immune system is concerned? What do we actually want to do as far as a healthy immune system is concerned? Are we wanting to boost or actually promoting? When you boost, it means something is at the normal stage, you are boosting it beyond normal. But when you promote, it simply means that, that system needs help. It needs help. So there are two different things. When you boost the immune system, you are simply doing what is not necessary for the body. The body doesn't need what you are doing. When you are, the body does not need to have its immune system boosted. What it needs is to have the immune system promoted, to be helped. And, how do we do that? First of all, I've said that you cannot boost the immune system, but you've got to understand that when you are trying to boost the immune system, you are actually asking for trouble. Because let me explain this. Today, I can't go into those details, but did you know that in COVID, instead of the immune system protecting the individual, what normally happens is that the virus causes the immune system to go into an overdrive. And that is called inflammation. When you hear the word inflammation, it usually means trouble. This is a situation where the immune cells are overdoing it. They are doing more than they should be doing. So now you have tilted the balance to another extreme. And that's what happens when people say, I want to boost the immune system. So if we eat well, and I'm coming to that shortly, if we eat well, balanced diet, our diets contain all the necessary ingredients, we exercise, we maintain a healthy lifestyle, we don't smoke, we don't drink, and then we go like, I want to use this thing to boost my immune system. It's a waste of money. And as a matter of fact, you can cause a damage. Because if truly that product or that food or whatever it is can boost the immune system, it will cause the immune system to go into that overdrive. So let's be very careful when we say we want to boost the immune system. We can promote healthy immune system if we think we are immunodeficient or immunocompromised. We can take different things, and I'll tell us about what things we can take in terms of nutrients to help in promoting our immune system. So basically, what are we wanting to do? Healthy, balanced diet. Okay. It's a good thing that my wife is not here because this is me. This is me, healthy, balanced diet. This is me, not practicing what I'm preaching this afternoon. I'm a junk food kind of person, but hopefully I get there. But the truth remains that what we need is healthy, balanced diet. When our diet is balanced, when it is taken at the right amount of fruits, the right amount of veggies, the right amount of carbohydrates to provide us with sugar, with the glucose for the body to derive its energy. When we have the right amount of protein, the key word is right amount. Guess what? These nutrients, all this, whatever we eat, we say that, my body needs this food. Yes. Remember, the immune cells are part of your body. They also need all these nutrients. And when they get all these nutrients in the right quantities, trust me, they will do what they are supposed to do. They will do their work. They will do their job. So if you derive yourself of, say carbohydrates and, you do not have sufficient energy, the immune cells will also suffer. If you do not take sufficient amounts of proteins, the immune cells will suffer because their multiplication will be affected. They need these proteins. Okay, so the point I'm making this afternoon is this: right amount of everything. Right amount of everything. When we take everything in the right amount, trust me, the immune cells will do what they are supposed to be doing. And they will support you when you are invaded because that's their job. They will support you. They will fight for you. Now, there are people who, and this is most of us, that's why, excuse me, you see me carry Centrum all over the place. Sometimes, I've got my high dose vitamin D. Sometimes I've got this and I've got that. There are times, and we know this, I can understand this, there are times when it is difficult to take a balanced diet. It is difficult. As far as the immune function is concerned, there are key vitamins and minerals that promote, they help. they promote, they get the immune cells doing what they should be doing when they cannot do it. Vitamin C. Vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant. I do not have the time this afternoon to talk about antioxidants, but those, you want the body, if the body is not able to protect itself, if the body is stressed and all that, then you need help with antioxidants. And you can also find vitamin C in fruits, some citrus fruits like oranges, some vegetables, strawberries, tomatoes, cranberries. Vitamin D. I think I can tell you this afternoon. I'm actually in discussion with one of the biggest manufacturers of supplements in Europe to do an investigation on, whether vitamin D protects against COVID or not. So, and I'll tell you why. Vitamin D is a critical vitamin when it comes to, immune function. Mainly from the sun. You can also get vitamin D from, mackerel, salmon, all these different, foods can provide vitamin D, but the critical, very, very important source of vitamin D is the sun. Now, even before COVID, people who are deficient in vitamin D, they are at a greater risk of developing, respiratory infections, especially, people say, oh, the flu season, the cold season, the winter months, it's less sunshine. Okay. And there is also something about the melanin of the skin. The melanin of the skin makes it difficult for, the sun to penetrate and make vitamin D. And, these are discussions that, I cannot go into this afternoon. Okay, so zinc is another important component of our diet, which helps with the immune system. It helps with the functioning of the immune system. You can get it from fish, lean beef now, chicken, turkey, dairy products, and so on and so forth. Okay, quickly, antioxidants. You see, that's why, because I know people will still ask me, so I want to say this now. And that is antioxidants. Antioxidants simply means anti-stress. When the body is stressed, either through activities, disease, infections, the body becomes stressed. And naturally, the body is able to produce its own antioxidant defense. We call it defense, but sometimes it cannot. It is overwhelmed. And so you need help. And that's why we use the term promote. You need help with, this antioxidant citrus, blueberries, broccoli, carrots, spinach, bell peppers, all these, they contain powerful antioxidant, chemicals, which help in promoting, healthy immune system due to their antioxidant activities. Some of these are things that we are investigating in our labs for different conditions. What about herbal products? This is another area, I'm smiling now because this is what nutrition, fruits, vegetables, and herbal products. These are substances I spend my life investigating in terms of research. Echinacea is a very, very, very good. You see, I'm repeating that. I'm not marketing it, but echinacea is very good for in terms of promoting immune response. As a matter of fact, this herb is known to actually cause some cells to produce the interferon I told you about earlier. Echinacea has been shown, this is based on scientific evidence. This is not something I plucked from somewhere. This is science. Causes immune cells to produce interferon. And we know that interferon would help in blocking multiplication of viruses. Same thing with golden root. It's called rhodiola, licorice, andrographis, these are some of the things that, you may have heard about, people talking about them. Curcuma longa, that's where we get, we get curcumin from this. One of the things that I was taking regularly throughout the, period of the pandemic is curcumin tea, teas containing curcumin. It's not because of anything. It's because I know that my lifestyle is not very healthy. I'm a very busy person. I don't eat well. So I simply use all this just to promote the immune status at the time. Okay, let's talk about physical activity, and we have to be very careful now. I think, physical activity is something that I want us to go into now. Now, until recently, people think physical activity is just meant to prevent, body weight, it's just, I want to, people say, oh, I've got to exercise, I've got to be physically active because I'm working on my weight, which is good. Some people will say that, well, I know that when I exercise, my heart is healthy, my lungs are healthy, this is healthy and that is healthy. Yeah, that is true. But also physical activity helps with reduction of infection. That is true. Now, I'm going to spend the last few minutes to explain what is going on here. Now, look at that guy sitting on the sofa. You see, it's like a graph. On that y-axis, you see risk of having respiratory tract infections. And then on the x-axis, horizontally, you see exercise, the amount of exercise, the degree or intensity of exercise. You can see that the risk of having these infections increase in, this guy that is sitting down eating burger, he's got some soda, maybe watching TV. The risk is high. Now, with moderate exercise, as you move from this sedentary lifestyle to moderate exercise, the risk of infection drops. Then you see that with overtraining, the risk of infection goes through the roof. What are we saying here? Moderate exercise. The key is moderate exercise, not just exercising because I want to lose weight. Yes, overtraining or heavy exercise can help you to lose weight, but it doesn't help you to fight infections. I'll tell you why. Beyond moderate exercise, heavy exercise will actually tilt things the other way. It reduces the ability of immune cells to respond because the body becomes stressed then. That's what people do not understand. Yes, you may be losing weight, but your ability to fight infections will drop with heavy exercise. So as far as infections are concerned, the key word is moderate exercise, moderate exercise. So it shouldn't be too less and it shouldn't be too much. Okay, I'm about to finish now. This is another, this was obtained from another study showing, what we call immunosurveillance, that is the ability of immune cells to do their job, the risk of illness, and exercise. So you can see that with sedentary, it is red. There is a high risk of illness. When you move to moderate, it goes green. It means, there is immune surveillance, there is an increase in immune surveillance, there is a drop in risk of having illness. Now, when the exercise workload or the stress continues, you can see it goes back to red. And we call that, with heavy exercise, we've got a problem. The risk of illness goes up, immune surveillance goes down, and then with overload. Overload simply means continued heavy exercise you can see that the arrows become double. There is a severe drop in immunosurveillance, and there is, when you have this overload, and there's an increase doubled, the risk of illness is also doubled. So these are some of the issues I wanted to bring to our attention today. The summary is this: healthy lifestyle. You cannot separate healthy lifestyle from the immune status, from resistance to infections. They are all tied together. If the lifestyle is healthy, the immune status is optimal, and there is optimal resistance to infections. So this afternoon, this is, I know there will be questions, and that's why I made this as quickly as possible. And I would like to thank you one more time for your attention. And then I'm more than happy to take questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very, 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 very much. Thank you. However, there's a question here. It says, in the context of COVID-19, why are the authorities not emphasizing improving the immune system, but keep on bagging on about first jab? And second jab and third jab.
Okay. Now, I'll tell you something about the immune response. You cannot, the immune response is not something that you can call upon when you need it. You can't. The immune system is, a healthy immune status is something that is built over time. So, for instance, if a person is overweight, they cannot go to normal weight overnight. Mm. So, let me give you one instance. There are people who, by virtue of certain illnesses they've got, they are permanently immunocompromised. Some people, because of certain treatments they are receiving, they are permanently immunocompromised. The immune cells need help. And that's why vaccination is more effective than going like, oh, okay, yes, COVID started yesterday, I want to start living right and all that. They may help, that may help, but you don't know. The important thing is this virus, coronavirus, what it does to the body or how the body responds to it will depend on what, I like to use, Nigerian language. It depends on what it meets in the body, which in many cases we don't know. Let me give you another example. I've got colleagues, I worked at University of Ibadan before I came to the UK, and I've got colleagues, I think 3 professors died from COVID. And we had a conversation around people dying of COVID. And I did explain one thing, you see, and I did say to people that unlike the UK where you have to go for health checks, you've got to do your blood and all that, many people even in the UK, there are many people who do not even know that they've got one condition or the other. They don't until they come in contact with the virus, and the virus and whatever it is that has been in existence causes is that the severity of the virus. Now with coronavirus, we can't take chances about, oh, okay, live right, live healthy, but we can start doing that now in case there is going to be another outbreak. It doesn't even have to be coronavirus. It could be any other infection, to be honest. It could be any other infection. So if the government are not, I don't think the government are not, talking about healthy lifestyle. It's just that we are in a pandemic, and, the response has got to be very aggressive. It cannot be as passive as, oh, make sure your diet is okay. That will be too late. Changing the status of the body overnight is uh, is a defeatist attitude. If you understand what I mean, it's going to, that the purpose will be defeated long term. Immune boosting the I mean, I'm also using boosting, promoting healthy immune status is a long-term strategy. It's not going to help short term. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. I have a question personally. I must confess that each of your sessions have been very, very educative, and
thank you.
I saw that you're having a session today. I was looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So how do we, Doc, how do we improve our immune system then? Does exercise help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, but exercise has to be moderate exercise. Now, this is the science behind exercise. You see, when you exercise moderately, the body produces certain chemicals. The body is simply going like, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because guess what's happening at that time? Glucose is being pumped into the blood. And as a result of that, other chemicals are released into the system. And when they are released into the system, these chemicals, they help the immune cells to go like, yeah, thank you. It's like you are feeding them. This, if you like, these cells these are cells, they are active, they walk, they move. These cells also, they have a life of their own. They need to be fed, they need to be kept, active, and the body produces these chemicals. And when these chemicals are produced, they help with those cells. The cells, it's like you're making them happy. I grow these cells in the lab, and you need to see how they behave when you give them what they need. And these things are produced in response to exercise. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Doc. Does anyone here have any more questions? Okay, let me have a look on the chat. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Mayukun.
I have a
He said, so what's your advice on how to eat healthy? Are there any procedures towards it?
Well, many years ago, no one had to tell us how to eat healthy, but our lifestyles are becoming more, we are becoming busy, we're becoming we're having less time to cook. But I can say this, the strategy to healthy diet is a diet that contains the right amounts of carbohydrates, protein, vegetables, and fruits. With all this, we have what we call a balanced diet. All these contain the nutrients the body and, of course, the immune cells need to function properly. So there is really no shortcut to healthy eating. The only shortcut is a balanced diet, things eaten in right amounts, and plenty of water too. Plenty of water, because the reason I'm talking about water now is all the chemical reactions that take place in the body, all the processes that take place in the body, they take place in water. And so the body needs water as well, the right amount of water.
I've got one question, please.
Go on.
If I get tested COVID-19 positive, and two things happen: either I fall sick and I recover, or I don't fall sick, and then I now get tested negative. Am I not? Is that not a natural vaccination?
Okay. Interesting question, and I'm going to answer that question responsibly. Now, when you are infected with COVID and you're positive, and then maybe you are slightly ill, and then you test negative eventually. Yes, your body builds antibodies. That's the truth. Because if you came at the beginning of the lecture, I did say that there are two phases of immune reaction to infections. The innate and the adaptive. If you become infected with the virus and the body is able to push you to the adaptive phase, if somehow it enters into the adaptive phase those are, those are cells that, the body, the body produces so that, when the virus comes again, or when you come in contact with the virus again, those antibodies are able to go like, you know what, we know you, we've come in contact with you before, or we have encountered you before, and so get out. It is the same thing vaccines do, but the difference is this. And still with vaccines, to be honest, I did say, I think maybe in one of the series or in other places I've given a lecture, the vaccines are not perfect. And that's why we're talking booster now. They're not perfect. It is the same thing. So when your body builds immunity, acquired immunity to the virus, we don't know how long it's going to last for. And let me also explain this. And it's the same problem with the vaccines. Now, this virus is a very clever virus. The virus, you may have been exposed to the alpha strain. The body will produce, that's the thing about the body. The body will produce immunity, specific immunity to that strain. The virus knows that. And so the virus changes, it mutates, it becomes a different variant. It is not likely that the existing immunity you have would detect and fight the new strain or the new variant. Okay, so yes, it is true. It is true. There have been discussions about people who have been infected with the virus not needing to be vaccinated. But just like the vaccines, we don't know how long the immunity will last. That's number one. Number two, we don't know whether that immunity will be, whether the immunity built will be sufficient in fighting, different variants of the virus. I hope that, that I'm able to answer your question.
Yeah, you answered the question. Yeah, and it's because on the government advice website, the UK government website about traveling, it talks about, issuing COVID certificates.
Yeah.
And it means that you can either be vaccinated, or if you were tested positive and you now became negative, that test, if it was within 80 days, you can still be issued a certificate. So the British government advice is that an infection itself is taken as a vaccination.
Yes, it is. It is natural. It is, we call it natural immunity, as opposed to vaccine, which is acquired. It's something that has to be. It's something that has to be done. And the one thing that I could advise people to do if they want to know if they've been infected, and and if there are people, like I did say at the beginning, there are people who were asymptomatic, they didn't have a clue. You could take the antibody test. I think there are clinics and pharmacies that where you can have this antibody test taken. It tells you if you have antibodies to the virus.
Okay, all right. That's crucial information. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Doc, I've got two questions. I'll give you the first one, then when you ask, I'll give you the second one. The other one said, how does the COVID-19 booster help? How does it help?
Okay, it's called a booster because it's like taking your antibiotics. The one thing I need to repeat is this: when the vaccines were introduced, they were not perfect. They were just all that we had at the time. We did not know so much. They were not perfect, but they helped. Now it's being shown that roughly after 6 months, the immunity built with the vaccines begins to drop. And so with a booster, it's like, kicking the immune system back into action when you take the booster. That's what the booster is all about. It's just to go like, and immunity is waning, it's dropping.
Okay.
And then you need to get it back on again. And it is hoped and expected. It's not, when COVID came, it didn't give us any opportunity to really go like, let's be patient and see how long this vaccine is going. We didn't have that luxury. We just had to do something. And so the expectation is that with the booster dose, there will be a longer lasting infection. And as a matter of fact, even if it's not longer lasting, the virus would have lost steam by the time people are losing, their immunity again. If you understand what I mean, it would have lost its steam, because we know that the virus is going to be, we're going to get to a point where the virus is going to be cornered. It's just going to, run out of steam, and it's not able to mutate anymore. It's run out of ideas. Yeah, that's the phrase. It's run out of ideas, and then it will just be like the usual cold. But pending that time, we need to protect people from severe disease, and we need to protect people from death. So that's the whole idea.